get you. Yeah. Jules, no.
No, Jules.
Today's vlog is starting very late. It is 9:29, almost 9:30 at night. I think today is the day where we're going to try to sport the mustache and see how this will go. My wife's not very jazzed. She's not very happy about it, but the whole thing about being married is you compromise and you love each other no matter what. So this is a really good test for her. Okay, I know that the mustache is very controversial for a lot of people. Your vote will not determine what happens to the mustache, but I'm just curious, in the comments below for you to share if you think I should keep the mustache or if you think I should get rid of it ASAP. So my plan is to have the mustache for today's vlog, and then tomorrow's vlog, and then it'll come off. I have to have it. I just have to. Every now and then, for like a 24-hour period. So I realize how bad of an idea this might have been. You know, we're going to sit down and talk about God's Word and really important eternal things, but I realize that the mustache could be a distraction against those things. I'm sorry about that, but as you're watching this, I really hope that you can focus in on the passage and what we're going through and not the mustache. Today is day 122. And we will be diving into 2 Samuel chapter 8 through 10, as well as 1 Chronicles 19 and Psalm 20. 2 Samuel chapters 8 and 9 are just in 2 Samuel. So when we read the account in 1 Chronicles 19, it's the same thing that's happening in chapter 10 of 2 Samuel. And then Psalm 20 kind of ties it all together beautifully. In chapter 8, David is, there's a record of David fighting against his enemies. And as David is fighting against his enemies, we know this according to the Psalm, but also according to this, that there was this acknowledgement that God was giving the victory to David. We find this in verse 6 as well as verse 14 of chapter 8 when it says, "And the Lord gave victory to David wherever he went." That's a very important part of these passages here. Then in chapter 9 we see David showing kindness to Mephibosheth. Mephibosheth was the grandson of Saul and the son of Jonathan, and he was lame in both of his feet because as was recorded earlier in the book, when word got to the nurse that was taking care of Mephibosheth that Saul and his sons had died in battle, she booked it quickly, and in doing so she drops Mephibosheth and he's lame in both of his legs. What makes this story so incredible is the fact that back then when you became king of a nation and you were not of the same lineage as the previous king, that you would wipe out the entire family of the previous king because you didn't want an uprising of someone to challenge you in your authority. And that's exactly what Mephibosheth thought when he was being summoned by David, because that was the custom back then. But instead of David killing Mephibosheth to make sure the family of Saul was dealt with and there would be no uprising from that, he shows him kindness. In fact, he gives him all of this wealth, all this possession, and tells him that you are going to sit at my table and dwell with me. And it really is just a beautiful depiction of the gospel, that we are like Mephibosheth. We are lame, we are sin-ridden, that we deserve to die, but yet God came in the form of human flesh in Jesus and saved us. And he rescued us, and he not only has he just saved us from the evil and the death that we deserve, but he has brought us into his presence, made us one of his own, and we now get to dwell and dine in the presence of God. Then chapter 10 is the detailed account that we see also in 1 Chronicles 19 about David overcoming the Ammonites. I want us to turn to Psalm 20 quickly, because once again, this is going to kind of wrap it all up and tie it all up nicely. David is crying out to God for help, seeking deliverance from his enemies, and he acknowledges that God is the one who is in control, that God is the one that is giving David these victories. It's not David himself and how good of a warrior he is. I love this because in verse 7 it says, "Some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we trust in the name of the Lord our God." And I wonder that as they're fighting the Ammonites in chapter 10 and in Chronicles 19, that David's thinking about this psalm that he could write of, God, you are greater than the chariots that we're fighting against. And just the cool depiction of how that ties it all together is really beautiful. And I think the story of Mephibosheth, there's enough there for us just to walk away from today, encouraged and built up and a reminder of the gospel. But with the other stories, I thought it was also important for us to be reminded of a very important truth, in the sense that we trust not in earthly, man-made things, but that we trust in the Lord. You know, as David's going to fight against his enemies and they have these chariots, it would have been very easy to worry and say, wow, they are going to win because they have the technology, the resources. But God is bigger than that. And we see David expressing that in Psalm 20 when he says, you know, other people are going to trust in chariots and horses, but we trust in the Lord. And it's a reminder for us as followers of Jesus that while we use man-made resources, I think that those things God inspired people to make, the thing is that we don't trust in those things, but that we trust in God. That is what David is saying here, that we don't trust in things of this world. We don't trust in man-made things. We trust in the Lord. And what a beautiful truth and a reminder for us today, that we truly trust in the Lord, and we put those things that we are tempted to trust in their rightful place, instead of trying to put them in the place where God is meant to be. Okay, so me and the boys are getting ready to go out for a little bit. Monet's at a bridal shower. So whenever I go out with the boys and I'm responsible for dressing them, it's not always the best, but I try. It's so hot outside. Oh my goodness, it is so hard leaving the house with 2 kids. Kudos to all of you people who leave the house with 2 kids or more. It's not easy. Thank you. So instead of going to this place we're going to go to, Daniels Park near Castle Pines, we're going to get some cool shots to fly the drone maybe. It's pretty windy outside and we're just super exhausted. So we're gonna do some chores instead. See, this is the problem when we start cleaning. You know, we just have one task that all of a sudden explodes into like 100 tasks. So now I gotta take, you've probably seen them in the vlog before, these mattresses and box spring out, get rid of them. That is definitely a two-man job.